Welcome to Making Team Projects Work with even more tips for teams. This week we have Dr. Mark Serva. He is Associate Professor of Management Information Systems at the University of Delaware. Mark, what is your single most important tip for making teams work better?
Well, Lauren, everybody knows that communication in teams is critical. But really, honestly, for effective communication to occur, teams must first see each other as important colleagues. I mean, human beings have this amazing characteristic in that the more they learn about each other, the more they seek out common linkages and interests. But there's a dark side to human relationships, and that is when information is lacking, humans tend to create a narrative to fill the void. And unfortunately, that narrative often assumes the worst. That void is especially concerning early in a team's life cycle because any communication gaps can result in kind of a downstream spiral. So in my experience as a professor and student teams, conflict usually results from that void. So what can we do to help establish those critical lines of communication? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, finding commonality helps fill the void and enables students to see each other as important colleagues. So right after teams are formed, I give students an empty grid on a sheet of paper, and there are questions across the top. I then ask students to complete the grid by interviewing each other and asking their new teammates some questions. The first one is pretty basic. What's your name? What's your contact information? But then I ask them, what experiences or classes have you had that will help contribute to the team? What is a personal or professional achievement that you've recently experienced? What things do you love to talk about in your personal life? And then I ask them on teams, what role do you tend to prefer? I give them choices like leader, worker, planner, harmonizer, and then even entertainer. The completed grid then becomes their reference sheet, and they can go back to that for the rest of the semester. If they forget a team member's name, for example, they can go back. They all know how to communicate with each other. They know how to get in touch with each other. But the discussion tends to focus on finding the commonalities within the team, not the differences, the commonalities. I've heard students say, for example, when they say things they like to talk about, I like to play the guitar. And another teammate will immediately say, hey, do you play acoustic or do you play electric? And they start talking about those and finding the commonalities with each other. And that commonality goes a long way to establishing effective communication and rapport in their teams in the future.
Wow, that is great. Communication and finding that commonality. Thank you so much, Mark Serva. And this has been another one of Tim's and Lauren's Tips for Teams.